Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So, another awesome guest we've got for you tonight. His name is Patrick Negado. He is a financial planner, and he's going to walk us through the difference. I can't remember exactly the differentiation between the certification he has achieved and a certified financial planner, other than you need to have a bachelor's degree to achieve the certified financial planner. So he's at the same level with a different certification, but important to call out. He's written a book called The Canoe and The Current. It talks about planning for retirement and an approach you can take that resonates with a lot of people. So super awesome guy. You're going to love Patrick. He's going to share his story about how he got from where he was to where he's at. Yeah, a lot more than just financial talk. We'll talk a lot towards the end about his book and the financial aspects of things. But look, his story is awesome. And I love just his approach. He's a very captivating and energetic and charismatic guy, and you're going to love him. So without further ado, let's bring Patrick on right now. Right. So Patrick, thank you for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. So good to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Joe. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks since we talked, and we were catching up, commiserating about our winter weather. Patrick's out in Utah, and they haven't gotten as much snow as they want, and we've gotten way more than we want here in Ohio. So a little bit of role reversal this winter.
As far as basically data or statistics go, it's probably evenly distributed across the country, but we just don't have it and you have it. So,
yeah. Well, and skiing's pretty big there in certain spots. I'm from Portland, Oregon originally, but right, in the shadow of Mount Hood. And skiing's big there in the winter as well. So
we're in the Park City area, so it is huge. Like I said, the resorts are kind of scrambling for business because there's really not much snow. If you dig deep enough, you'll find probably on any of your social media feeds, people posting pictures of the lack of snow in Park City. And so of this season. So, and I know we're having the Winter Olympics back here in 2034. And then hopefully it's one of those seasons where there's going to be heavy snow and versus this season. So,
yeah, there's no mountains in Ohio, so it's just snow. It doesn't impact anything. It's pretty flat here.
So you guys do the car skiing instead. You get pulled by a truck or a car, and you guys ski that way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Or the little bunny hills that you can find a hill and there'll be kids sledding on it or whatnot. So growing up in the Pacific Northwest, I'm used to having like actual mountains.
Right.
Yeah. So that's been an adjustment living on the East Coast. But anyhow, yeah, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. And as you know, our podcast is about trying to get people to live a life of meaning and purpose. And the way we do that is we have people come on and talk about how they got from where they started to where they're at and what they learned along the way. And then you have also, through your experience as a financial planner and a certified financial planner, written a book. And we want to talk a lot about your book and kind of the lessons you're trying to teach people around managing your finances and planning for your future and those kind of things. So it's going to be a great conversation. Let's jump into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I appreciate that. In fact, when we talk about the book later, I think it's going to fall well in line with what you're just talking about. People need to have values around what they plan for to make it last longer. So we will cover that a bit later. Well, I'm actually a chartered financial consultant, not a CFP. It's basically equivalent. The difference is a chartered financial consultant has one extra course than a CFP does, but it's basically the same course. You take either course to eventually get either one. But anyway, so I chose I have the chartered financial consultant, and some of your audience might appreciate this, is primarily because I'm a college dropout. And to have a CFP, the requirement is a bachelor's degree. And I'm just not interested in going back to college to get my bachelor's degree for a few other units, just to have a CFP when I have the equivalent, which is chartered financial consultant. And I've been doing this for just under 30 years, right? But I'm in the 29th year of my practice, or at least in being in the business, and 15th year of having my practice. So I just don't see a need to get my college degree at this point. And considering what's come out in recent years about what you're learning in school, perhaps it's better I don't have my college degree. So I have nothing against it, but I'm just saying I was impatient. So I dropped out. I wanted to get back. I wanted to start working, get in the business world. And I just found college to be really boring because I wasn't really a partier back then. So, and ever, but anyway.
I was going to say, have you become a partier?
Well, I had my time of fun, but I was never part of the in crowd, so to speak. Sometimes, and some of the things, some of the other interviews I've done is I always like to talk about how I'm sure glad I haven't peaked yet, right? Because you meet some people, they peak in high school and it's all downhill from there. I feel like I'm still peaking. So anyway, so that's how I feel good. But so I was never part of that in crowd, which I think kind of formulates how I approach my business and when I talk to my clients and things like that.
Yeah, that's it's interesting because I've never been a partier. I'm still not a partier. Yeah. And I actually was a part of the in crowd. I was, so I'm 54, and growing up, things that carried kind of a high social currency for males came fairly naturally to me. So I was a good athlete, I was good in school. I was quick on my feet in terms of conversations and one-liners and that kind of stuff. And it's all overrated, by the way. Like it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. I got a lot of value. I love to compete. And so what I didn't realize while I was working my way through athletics, I went through college on a baseball scholarship, but it's funny. I did not finish my first go round. I went back as an adult and did wind up getting my degree, but I share the same skepticism about the value of a college degree that you just shared. Not anti-college in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to denigrate anyone that went through and got a college degree. I also have a college degree, so I'm in the camp that I'm criticizing. But I feel like it used to be that colleges taught people a framework with which to think about life. So here is a way to think critically so you can make flesh out information and make better decisions. And now it seems much more like they tell you what to think, which I'm not a fan of in any circumstance. Yes. I don't think anyone should be telling anyone what to think. I'm totally against that. And that's my big problem with college now.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny. I had a perfect paper in college. The topic was nurture versus nature. And so, and like with anything, I don't know about you, but I cram. I never study until the day before an exam. I don't write a paper until the day before it's due. So I spent pretty much all afternoon and that night till about 3 a.m. writing the paper, submitted it, nature versus nurture, and got a perfect score. Right, which again, the challenge there is to get you to think, right, not to just. I'm going back to what you're saying. Challenge you to think. So professor didn't have an opinion one or the other. He just said great paper, and I was kind of more in the nature. Well, I was kind of like a nature and nurture camp. I kind of talk about there's some things that are naturally we're born with, and then there are some things that are nurtured out of us, right?
Sure.
But anyway, so to go back to whatever. So that was really one of the things where they challenge you to think. I mean, we're about the same generation. I'm a couple years younger than you. So I didn't have professors telling me how to think. They always asked me to form my own opinion.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's right. And that's my big problem with it. Plus, I know it's not popular, but like you'll appreciate this being in the finance world. 7 times 7 is always 49. If you go to I went through, so I was in college pre-med. I wound up getting a degree in finance and economics, but I went through and took all the math classes for the pre-med. So I did fairly high level calculus, and that you need to understand concepts. But 7 times 7 is always 49. There's nothing wrong with memorizing that shit. So it's just burned into your brain. Right. We love to try to make it, they need to do this, they need to do that. No, they need to know 7 times 7. I remember my oldest son, they brought in a new teacher his first grade year, and he wound up in her class. And she was teaching one of the many versions of new math. Okay, got it. In first grade, I don't think we need new math. I think we need math. And so her deal was, we never tell the kids they're wrong. We just suggest that they keep working on it until they come up with the right answer themselves. And I'm like Tom Hanks in Big. I'm like, I don't get it. Like,
That's a problem.
yeah. So I'm like, well, how do they know when they're right? You don't tell them when
Right.
they're wrong. She's
Right.
like, well, I don't want to tell a 6-year-old that they're wrong. Do you want me to? And I said, yes. You've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I want you to do. If my kid says 2 + 2 is 5, I want you to tell him he's wrong and correct him. I said, do you want to know why? I said, look at the window right over there. That window was put up by a contractor at some point, and he had to know exactly how long the beam was to go over that window, because if he didn't, if it's too long, it's going to stick out the side of the building. If it's too short, the building's going to fall down on top of us. I'm glad his math teacher in first grade said, no, you're wrong. Do it again.
Right. Right.
That's wild, man.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So what made you drop out of college? So you said you wanted to get into the work world, but like how far away? Like that's a life decision. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was my second year. Actually, it was also partially encouraged by my father, right? My father says, you know what? Because my father's become very successful in life. He has not just an MBA, but also a CPA. And so he basically said, and part of this, I think, is he didn't want to have to pay for my schooling either. I think that's part of the encouragement to drop out, right? Not that he was paying for it, because I was still paying for it, but I think he knew the writing was on the wall. I was going to start having to ask him for some money.
Yeah.
But basically, he said, "Hey, you need to drop out of school and get into the business world and get into real estate, right? And you'll make a ton of money doing real estate." Unfortunately, I could not get passionate about real estate. I wasn't interested in it. The way I've always viewed real estate, and again, I don't mean to sound. I hope I don't sound sexist. It's not meant to sound sexist, but to me, it felt more like it's a female type relationship from a standpoint that you're showing a home and you're talking about how beautiful it is. I leave all the decorations to my wife. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to make anything look good. But because I was reading books on it, right? I was reading a bunch of books like Tom Hopkins on real estate, how you want to, when you list a home, how you want to present it, so on and so forth. I could not get into it. Yeah. And then I stumbled upon, I was working in retail, higher end retail, selling shoes for a living. And I knew I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, but I had to figure something out. And a friend of mine got me a job at a software company, selling financial software to financial advisors. And then based on having those conversations with my clients and the guys I dealt with were successful people, I said, boy, this is really something I found to be really interesting. And so that's how I got in. And I was like, wait, will they take a college dropout? And they're like, yeah, they'll usually take anybody that breathes as long as you can sell. Right? So my initial segue into the financial industry is to the life insurance business, right? But I had some really good mentors. I was part of at that time, I was part of a group called the Christian Businessmen's Committee. And I met a lot of guys who were successful business guys, mostly 30, 40 years older than me. And I had one guy who was mentoring me, and he says, listen to what they have to say, but always be skeptical of it because they're only interested in what's in their best interest, right? Now, of course, in their best interest to see you successful, but it's under their terms. What you want to do is eventually be able to figure it out on your own so that you can do things under your own terms. So that's how I got in 1996. So just about 30 years ago. And then of course struggled hard. I had times that I had 2 or 3 jobs just to kind of, make sure I was paying my rent. And then ultimately made some money and then struggled again and tried to get out of the business. And then business kept calling me back in. And then I finally figured things out about mid to late 2000s when I finally started figuring things out and started to actually do better financially. And like I said, every year since then, my financial picture looked better. So that means I'm getting even more and more successful as time goes.
Yeah, going back to, so you first get in through the sales avenue, selling financial planning software to financial professionals.
Yeah.
I always say sales is a great place for people to earn more money than they probably deserve. Because if you're willing to just pick up the phone or just show up to appointments and hear no a lot, but go to the next appointment with the right attitude and the right mentality, you're eventually going to crack the code on what that interaction needs to look like for you to be successful. And there's not a lot of people out there willing to do that. Plus, one of the things I talk about a lot on the podcast for our audience is you'll notice that people who've built a really good life are always taking action. And the whole, don't get me wrong, it's great to be educated. It's great to read. It's great to watch podcasts. It's great to do all of the preparation work that people like to hide behind instead of actually taking action. But there's nothing that's better than being out on the street and having to find your way. And sales kind of enables all of that. So you touched on two things there that I think are important to call out to the audience. Continuously taking action. Sometimes it went great. Sometimes it didn't. Like if it was going great, you wouldn't have 2 or 3 jobs, right? And by the way, when I first got married, I had 3 jobs for a couple of years until I could afford. I got promoted, and then I could only work 2 jobs, and then I got promoted a couple more times, and that actually paid all the bills, and I could cut it back to 1 job. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And by the way, it's not an accident that successful people go through those periods. I think they're successful because they go through those periods. I think they go hand in hand.
I'll tell you a metaphor I heard once, and it was a really good one. He goes, for a butterfly to become a butterfly, it has to go through the caterpillar phase and be in a cocoon, and then it has to fight its way through that cocoon to become the butterfly that became, to be as beautiful as it is. So that always resonated with me. And yes, it was very tough. When I reflect back on it, I always tell myself, I don't know how I did it. and I'm not sure I'm willing to do it again.
Right.
But certainly the end result is where I'm at today, where I kind of imagine myself to be this person, and I'm kind of slowly becoming more and more the person I was imagining 30 years ago. Right. I mean, like I said, I have a book out. I have a second book that I'm gonna release. It's done. I'm just letting this book percolate before I release it. And I have a third book idea that I want to publish in about another year after that, but I haven't started writing it yet. But I have the idea in my mind, and then providing value to other people so that I can help them with their finances, because they're not going to give me any money unless I provide value, right? And so I've just gotten to that point where I thought I was going to be an insurance salesman. I'm not. I mean, of course, that's still part of the package if people need it. But now I'm managing money and be in a position or a place in my career where I'm very proud to be who I am and what I've accomplished. Now, I still don't feel like I've arrived, right? I'm not. I still, like I told you, I've done well for every year, better than the year before, so that's a good trajectory. But we're still not at a place where I can say, yeah, I've arrived. And the fact of the matter is, you probably will never feel that way, because once you do, you arrive at your deathbed. Probably is my guess.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny because I filmed another episode earlier today, and it's with a neuroscientist, and he was talking about like feeling less than and having imposter syndrome. This guy speaks 6 languages. He's a fucking neuroscientist. And he's still having those same thoughts and emotions and feelings. And I appreciated him being so willing to share that with the audience, because like he was just a Dos Equis short of being the most interesting guy in the world. And he's talking about like, I don't know, it seems like I have more confidence now than I've ever had, but I still feel like I don't fit, or I'm not making it sometimes. Like, it's like, good Lord.
Yeah. And he's absolutely right. I remember one of the most successful people I met. It was the first firm I started with. It was very, very successful. He was big in the business, in the industry. And he said, so he used to always speak. And he said, once he finally started making really good money, he started thinking of I think it was a Peggy Lee song, is what he said. He would always say this in his speeches. Is that all there is? Right. So it wasn't quite what he thought it was. Like I said, my third year of my practice, when I was first getting started, as I told you, I was working 2 jobs at times, right? I landed my largest deal. So that's what got me to quit my 2 jobs. right? It was a 6-figure deal, one deal. And I felt so good about it. I treated one of my best friends to a trip to New York because I borrowed a lot of money from him. So this is my way of paying him back. That's how bad I struggled, right? And he was generous enough to lend me some money. So I rewarded him by paying for his New York trip. But man, it's like, I didn't know any better. So I spent the money. I did not invest it. I did not invest in marketing like you should have. And it was just one of those things where I lived off of it for a couple of years and then I struggled again. Right. And so if I could go back in time, I would tell that Patrick, hey, listen, you need to budget for taxes. And then you also need to budget for marketing and then spend the rest if you want to, but you need to rebuild your pipeline.
Yeah. It's funny because especially as a business owner, if you've never had that experience, you don't think about things like taxes. Like taxes are always just something that got taken out of your check. Who's this FICA guy I'm paying all this money to? Right. And then all of a sudden it's on you. You're on it. And oh, by the way, you pay the self-employment tax too. So it's double what you see coming out of your check because you're going to pay both ends of it.
I didn't realize my uncle was in a mob. Uncle Sam just wanted to collect my money each and every time, right? So, hey, that was a tough lesson learned because I did owe taxes, and it took me about 6 years to pay it all off with penalties and all that. So yeah, hard lessons to learn, but things that make you better. Those experiences do make you better if you don't let it defeat you, right?
Yeah,
you overcome it, you fight it, you learn from it, and don't act as if that it's the end of the world when that happens, even though at that time it may feel like it.
Yeah. When you found yourself in those situations, were there any thought processes or any tricks or tools that you used to try to kind of motivate yourself, keep yourself going, stay in a productive frame of mind instead of just pitching it all in and saying, well, I guess this is the end? How'd you do it mentally?
Well, there was one time where, like I said, having good mentors helped. People I really trusted, not because they were successful, but because they were telling me some very good information and good meaningful content. To tell you stories, my friend Bob, still friends today. I talked to him this morning, in fact. But there was one night I was feeling sorry for myself because I was really struggling. I was tired of failing, and I actually thought about what if I just killed myself, right? I said, because I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of being a loser and asking friends for help when I need it or whatever. Because I've had a couple friends bailing me out more than once, right? And so I just was tired of being that person, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so, so we're out in this park. We're just having a conversation. And I started thinking about that, and then I thought, man, no one's going to come to my funeral if I died. So that's how low I got, right? I was thinking to myself, man, even if you killed yourself, it wouldn't matter because no one cares. And so I kind of mentioned that to him when we were having that conversation, and he goes, Patrick, tomorrow's a new day, right? Just kind of look forward to a new day. And now that I'm sharing that story with you, I talked to him today, and I'm playing the other role today because he's telling me that he was really depressed last week and he was just having a rough time. And I was telling him today, in fact, I said, yeah, all you need to do is it's a new day and just take the first step and then take another step and then eventually get out of it. But it's that first step that you need to take to kind of get you out of that rut. But you can't let that rut defeat you and not take that first step, because once you take the first step, the one follows, so on and so forth. So to me, I read a lot of motivational books. I listened to a lot of tapes. At that time, a lot of Bible reading, soul searching, right? And somehow I just kept telling myself, this will eventually work out for you if you remain persistent. Which it did, right? I mean, it was just a matter of time. You just needed to put in the hard yards, as they would say.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I love you sharing that story. So a couple things come to mind when you talk about that stuff. One is I'm not a huge Jocko Willink fan. Do you know who Jocko Willink is? He's a motivational guy. He was in the military. I think he gets a lot of stuff right. There's just something about him that I'm
I
just
might
not a
have to see
huge.
his picture to know who it is,
Yeah,
but yeah.
he tells a story that I agree with 100%. So he's got talking about his friend that winds up divorced. The divorce cost him his business, and he's just kind of late 30s, early 40s, back at ground zero in life. Like everything he's worked for and built over the last however many years is gone. No wife, family split up, business gone as a part of the fallout from the divorce. And he was talking to him, and he said, "What would you do if you were me?" And Jago said, "You start walking." He's like, "What do you mean start walking?" He said, "Well, like, it's military training, right? So if we got dropped in somewhere, we didn't know where we were, we would first, make sure no one was shooting at us, and then we start walking. And we walk. And generally, you want to find a way to walk downhill. Why? Because water runs downhill. And eventually, you're going to run into water, and water is going to run out of wherever you're at. So you follow the water downstream till the stream meets a creek, and the creek meets a river. Follow the river downstream because people build cities where rivers go, and you're going to eventually run into a city and find some help. But that's never going to happen if you don't start walking. No matter how lost you think you are, no matter how far off course you think you are, no matter how hopeless it is, you just start walking, which sounds really easy to do as we're sitting here in our nice cushy places and having a great conversation.
Well, that's a good point, because when you're depressed, really what you need to do is you just have to force yourself to take that first step, right? Because depression, that's what gets you in the darker holes when you give into it. So if you fight it, then it's a new day. So one of my favorite people I used to like to listen to podcast, he recently passed away. He was a daily listener, but one of the things he said was, when you struggle in life, you have to reframe it this way. If you've struggled or if you failed at something, you reframe it in this fashion: the world finally owes me something. So look at it from that perspective. You're going to get something back because you struggled so much, or you failed at this and that. But now it's time for you to collect, and you can just say, "Hey, the world now owes me." Not that you're entitled, but because you worked hard, at some point it's going to have to reward you.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to go get it. That's like action, action, action. The action is always the solution. The solution to a problem isn't wishing it away; it's confronting the problem. It's like I think it was Marcus Aurelius that said the obstacle is the way, right? So whatever the problem is, you got to go towards it. Don't run from it. Go towards it, because the only way to confront it is to go towards it. Which again sounds well and good and easy as we're sitting here, but when the bullets start flying and life gets tough, we got to remind ourselves of those things. So you wind up going from the software sales into the insurance part of the business. How'd you go from there to the point where you said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to go out and start my own business in this thing"? How'd that whole thing work?
I didn't want to be just a one-trick pony, right? I mean, selling life insurance for a living, some people do it really well. Oh, and by the way, I should kind of say this. For the people who are getting recruited by life insurance companies, because there's a lot of that going on, there's nothing wrong with it. They will train you how to sell well. You will do quite well if you listen to them. However, they're only interested in you selling one thing and one thing only, which is life insurance products, right? And if you and the thing is life insurance products does not solve everything, and it's not the end all and be all. So I learned that pretty quick within my first and second year in the industry. I wanted to make sure I wasn't just a life insurance person. I wanted to make sure I had all my securities licenses so that I could also manage money. So this is late 90s. Markets were killing it, right? And essentially my career is lessons learned from mistakes or from failures, so to speak. So I remember I finally got all my licenses. I can do manage money. I can start managing clients' assets much more than life insurance. The firm I was with is not interested in me selling anything but life insurance, but but they're supposed to be a total financial package firm, in which case I said, well, I'm doing this. Anyway, so I get referred to this client who's quite wealthy, and she has this investment with another firm. And late 90s, she was averaging about 8%. And I said, and of course, this is the arrogance of youth, or the naivete of youth, what to call it that. I'm like, goodness gracious, we have Janus funds going 150% in their tech fund. Why are you wasting your money on this investment where it's giving you 8.25%, right? And so, of course, she moved her money with me. And what happened in 99, 2000? Market crashes, right? I didn't know any better, so I obviously, deservedly so, lost her as a client because her money, she lost. She didn't lose it all, but it was certainly down by a lot.
Sure.
And then when I reflected back on it, as I started learning more, and again, I'm more self-coached. I would read people in the industry, read books, and learn as much as I can. I realized when I reflected back and looked at her portfolio prior to me getting it, that she was already in a defensive position by that money manager. So he was preparing her for a market crash. And so had she stuck with that portfolio, she would not have lost 30, 40% like she did with me. She probably would have only been down 10, 20%, right? And so I realized there's much more to this than chasing returns. There's much more to this than, let's look at the shiny little object here, right? And so again, lesson learned, right? You lost a significantly good client, and I said deservingly so, because I was dumb and arrogant.
Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. Yep. Sorry. Yeah. I think I might've had something cut out on my end, but yeah. So I think that's a great lesson. It's funny. I tell people a lot. It's too bad you didn't know me when I was 20, because I was so smart when I was 20. I knew everything. You didn't have to ask me. I would just tell you how smart I was. And then, fast forward to now, it turns out I'm a moron. I don't know anything. And there's all sorts of really smart people that know way more than me, and they'll share it all with me if I ask them a couple of questions and shut my mouth. But like, to your point, that's a lesson. Unfortunately, it's experience. And I always say experience is something you get right after you need it. So
I do try to follow the mantra of try to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yes.
However, I am also partially the type of person who says, I also should make my own mistakes. So I don't know. So I'm a little bit of both, right? I look at some of my relatives. I have cousins who should have been successful athletes, right? But they got involved in gangs, in which case that prevented their ability to go to the next level, right? And so I look at that and say, well, I don't want to be that. So I stayed away from gangs, whereas they didn't. Or I don't smoke. I rarely ever drink. If I will drink, it's just to taste what my wife's drinking, and she usually likes a nice a glass of wine. I'll just have a sip, and I'm good with that. So I don't get drunk. I don't do drugs. I have my other vices, but it's nothing that's going to kill me physically, right?
Right.
But that's like, but then I also have my own mistakes that I need to make. Like, for instance, I was engaged once, and again, my friend Bob says, I'm not sure this is the right person for you. And I said, well, I have to grow up sometime, Bob, and this has to be if this is a mistake, then it has to be a mistake I need to learn on my own, right? And obviously a year and a half or so later, we broke up, and sure enough, they were right. It wasn't a good fit. But I had to learn it that way because I was just stubborn, right? So, but yeah, it's mistakes are good to make. Again, one of the few things my father advised me on is do not be afraid to fail at something, right? Oddly enough, he gave me that advice perhaps 30, 35 years ago, and yet he's really afraid of failing at everything. It's funny, right? My father will say that to me, but yet he doesn't necessarily live it. Although he's become successful, he's become very, very successful. My father is very successful, but he's also made it clear I'm not getting any of it. So
all the way back to college. He ain't paying for college either, right?
He ain't paying for college either. But you know what? He paid for my sister's college, darn it. I was like, and my sister tried to hide it from me too. And I finally got it out of her. I knew it. I knew you didn't pay for it. So
oh my gosh, I love the family dynamics. Some things are universal,
Yeah.
There's those kind of stories in every family for sure. So, what made you decide to take the leap to go out on your own? I mean, you're working, you're doing okay, et cetera, et cetera. What made you say, you know what, I got to take control of my destiny and I want to be the captain of the ship? What was that
So
thought
this is
process like?
actually funny enough, is this is my second time doing it. So the first time was in 2000. I went on my own in 2000. And I lasted about 3 years, and I realized, number one, it doesn't matter how well you do for your client. What matters is how can you continue to grow your practice, right? But you still need to do well for your clients, because between 2000 and 2003, I was actually beating the market by about 13 points.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember losing a client, and he called me and he said, I need to cancel I need to close my account. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I'm going to do this annuity with my, I'm going to change it to this annuity. Right. I'm like, why are you going to do an annuity? That's such a waste of money. You get higher fees and all that. And he goes, well, I'm not happy with the returns. I said, our returns, we're beating the index by 13 points. If I was managing a large mutual fund, I'd be a big star. He goes, it's your fees. Your fees are really high. I said, well, the fees I'm charging you is pretty standard across the board based on the assets under management. And he goes, well, it's my nephew. He's getting started in the business, and I want to help him out. Okay, that's great.
There we go.
Yeah, there's the truth. And you know what? Fine. No, I wasn't going to hold on to it. I just wanted to know the reasons I could improve.
Yes.
And so my philosophy back then, and it still is to some degree, but it's obviously a little bit more modified. But I said, we will buy stocks based on its value and based on its discounted value, right? Because there's a value we'll have for it that we think it's worth, and we're going to try to buy it discounted as much as we can. Of course, the old Warren Buffett method, right?
40 cents for some worth a dollar. Yep.
Right. I mean, actually, it's even better than Warren Buffett. It's his mentor, Benjamin Graham, his philosophy, right? But then, so what happens is you do that, and then you finally reach the value of the stock where where it's considered fair, and then of course anything above that is overvalued at that point. And so if you sell it at your estimated fair market value, and you have a gain, what do you think happens?
Yeah, they take 20% of it for capital.
No, it's not even that. It's the client says, well, why don't we write it? Right. Yep. And so if you don't write it and the stock goes up, you look bad. If you write it and the stock goes down, well, you look bad, right? So it was really a difficult place to be, and I didn't have the experience nor the resources to really keep it up. So I decided to sell it because I was too stressed. I was losing. I couldn't sleep. I was stressed out, and I finally decided I'm going to sell it and get out of it, and try to get out of the business altogether around 2003. But again, like I said, the business came calling back in, right? So I became a wholesaler for a while. So I got to see the other side of things, got to work with other financial advisors from a different lens. And then it really just helped formulate what I really wanted to be eventually in the business. And so in around late 2000s to 2010, I became a financial advisor again, affiliated with a large company. So what was good about that is they had a customer base I could work. So that what was nice about this, I was able to build a practice with that customer base, which helped. But in some respects, you couldn't be completely independent because you still had to kind of follow the product mix was limited to who they were contracted with.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a matter of you need to find the right product for the right product or solution for your clients. So you can always do that as long as you're doing the right thing. To me, as long as you're doing the right things, you're good, right? It may not be perfect. There might be something slightly better, but at least you're in play. Your money's is working for you. So and then from that standpoint, I was just able to kind of recover and recoup and kind of really formulate what I wanted to do. And then about 6-7 years ago, the idea of my book came into my head. But again, I'm still involved with that large company, and I didn't think they would let me publish a book. And candidly, when I talked to our compliance people, late 24, early 25, I said, "Hey, I have this book that's been sitting on the shelves for the last 7 years. Are you guys? Can we actually publish a book?" And they're like, "Yeah, you just can't have anything stupid in there, and we just want to look at it before you publish it." But, oh, okay. So I finished it up, published it, and then of course I realized I need to market under the concepts of my book, and so I left them, right, and then started my own. Essentially, went independent. And so this is my second go around being independent. But this time I have a larger product suite to choose from. I did partner with a broker dealer, or at least I work with a broker dealer, because I'm what's called a hybrid advisor. So I have something I can do that's commission based. I have some things that's fee based only. So to me, to be able to provide the best service and tools for clientele, you have to be, in my opinion, you have to go to be able to do both, because there are some commission products that you can't replicate as a money manager, right? And so again, that's kind of how the book resonated, and that's kind of where it is. And that's, like I said, it's my second time around going at it. And this time it's like, when my wife was like, why would you want to leave a good opportunity? I said, because it's going to be better for us to do this on our own, because now I can market under the way I want to market. It's going to be my identity, my philosophy, my framework. And I think in the long run, we're going to do significantly better financially, but more importantly, it's going to be more satisfying, more gratifying from a professional standpoint.
And how much of this odyssey was your wife on the ride for?
My wife was probably, so my wife is funny. My wife probably doesn't think, she probably doesn't think I read her. She probably thinks she can hide her, how she can hide what she thinks from me, but I read her quite well.
Yeah.
Candidly, she would have preferred we stayed comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And we were comfortable, but I said, we're too comfortable. Oddly enough, after I released my book, I was introduced to this guy. But the guy who helped me edit my book said, just talk to this guy, give him 15 minutes. I didn't know why. He scheduled a Zoom call with him. So I talked to him. I get on the call with him. I'm like, so-and-so going to join us? No, I think we're just supposed to talk about. So what are we supposed to talk about? He's like, I don't know. But he said we should talk. So I was like, okay. And then it turns out he is like a business coach. And he wasn't necessarily assuming we were going to work together or anything like that. And I'm always skeptical of coaches, right?
Sure.
And we just started talking. And he says, what do you really want to do? And I said, well, we just moved to Utah. I really like where we live. We have a house that's being built, but it's not the ideal house I want. The ideal house I want is like down the street. It's like worth $12 million. It's too big for us because there's only two of us, but I'd really love to live in that house, or at least have something like it. And he goes, so why can't you have it? I said, I'm just not there yet. He goes, and he goes, okay, so why don't you start thinking about having it now? So then he just, close your eyes. Do you see it? He did this exercise with me, which I'm sure was probably hypnotic, right? And I said, well, by golly, you should be able to do that. So that's kind of when the ball really started rolling about, yeah, we need to start branding. We need to start thinking about how can we maximize the book opportunity. And so that's kind of what happened. So he says, the way I'm thinking about it, Patrick, is I don't think you're going to grow 10x. I think you're going to go 1,000x, right? But you need to start thinking you can grow 1,000x. Yeah. You can't limit yourself. And I was like, but boy, that sounds really hard. And it sounds like it's not attainable. It goes, well, that's why you need to change your mindset, right? Think about when you first got into this business. What was your mindset then? Like anything was possible, right? I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I remember this story. My good friend, he was like, well, by the way, my friends all my friends have all said you should quit at one point or another, right? So let's put it that way. You should go find a job. And then now, of course, everybody says, I remember when you had two jobs, and you've gone really, whatever. You've gone to places that we knew you struggled. But anyway, so he said, well, aren't you going to be happy if you're making like $100,000 a year, a couple $100,000 a year? I said, no, I'm not in this business for that. I'm in this business to make at least $500,000, maybe a couple $1 million. And he started scoffing, like, well, you're really like, that's really kind of arrogant of you. I'm like, no, the reason I'm in business for myself is I want to make that kind of money, right? Now I may never get to really where I want, but the fact of the matter is I don't want to have to ever worry about what to pay for. If I want to buy something, I can buy it because I want to buy it, not because I'm wondering where my next paycheck is, right? And so that was kind of like, so that's always been kind of like the vision. And then there was a time in the 2010s and teens where I was kind of just happy settling for what I had, right? And like I said, even as recently as a few years ago, I was kind of content. I bought another business that ended up failing. And my wife was happy that we were not struggling, because there's a short period in our time together where I struggled a little bit financially.
Yep.
And obviously she didn't like that, but she stuck with me. So good for her. Right. But so when this came up, hey, we really need to make a change. Her attitude was, okay, I'm going to support you. But we had some tense conversations when I was interviewing the different firms I was going to affiliate with. And it hit a fever pitch where we really had a bad argument on the phone while I was doing my visits. And I basically said, at the end of the day, I don't want to do like the Rocky line where, Adrian, I'm asking you to stop being a woman. Don't stop asking me being a man, right? I can't get Sylvester Stallone's voice. But you remember that line, right?
That's why I'm laughing. I absolutely remember. Yes.
Yeah. Don't ask me to not be a man. Anyway, so and so we had a really, really, really heated argument. And but I think the funny thing is, I think this might go with most wives, is they're always skeptical until you make it, and then they're like, "Joe, this is great. I'm so proud of you," right? And I was right behind you the whole way, right?
Oh my gosh, I love it. My wife's very funny about that stuff. She's very supportive. However, I can read in her body language all of the hesitation and concern. Yes. And like, it's like she would, and like we have a relationship, like you just like, jokingly with the Rocky line. I've never ever told my wife what to do, and she would never ever tell me what to do or what I could or couldn't do. And I never tell her what she can or can't do. Like what's the point of having a relationship if one person's going to say you can't? Like, I don't understand that. However, she's important to me, and I want good things for her. And it's the way we've got our relationship set up. I'm the one that provides and protects and kind of does that stuff. And she runs all of the house and the personal relationships. And she's like the glue that holds it all together. And so when there's a discrepancy, we pretty much defer to the other one, depending on what the scenario is. If we see things differently in personal relationships or things like that, I defer to her because she's so good at it. And when it comes to the business stuff, she defers to me. And I'm like you, like I've done things where they've been wildly successful, and I've done things where they've been like a kick in the teeth. So I've had both experiences multiple times in the business world. But you can't be afraid of it. That's what I try to explain to people. Right. You can't be afraid. That doesn't mean just wildly rush into things, but if it's fear that's holding you back, I think you're thinking about it wrong. And you have to kind of, like you said, you have to kind of constantly readjust. I remember vividly as a kid and as a teenager thinking, if I could just find a job where I made 50 grand a year, I would be set for life. I graduated high school in 1990, and 50 grand was a lot of money back in 1990. And I was 26 when I made 50 grand a year. And I'm like, well, fuck, now what do I do? Yeah. Like, do you just stop? Do you just call it? Do you keep going? And so you've got to kind of readjust, and you got to understand what it is you think you're capable of. And I always use the matrix. Like, they put him in the simulation for the first time and try to get him to jump from one building to the other, and he can't do it because his mind won't let go of the fact that he's in a computer game, and he could do it. He just won't. He hasn't figured it out yet. But it's hard. That's a hard mentality to drill into your head, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then you talk about how, like I said, I said this earlier. I said I can sense my wife was hesitant and skeptical. But how I approach it, kind of like, I'm not sure if you approach it this way, but in my case, I was like, you know what? Come hell or high water, as long as I don't put ourselves in total risk, I'm going to take this risk. And if it works out, she'll reward me and be happy about it. If it doesn't work out, she'll beat me up and tell me how much of a failure I was about it, right? I mean, this kind of went, and I think this started in my early 20s when I was getting started in business, right? I was struggling. I called my mom. I said, Mom, I need to borrow money to pay rent, right? I can't pay rent. And my mom did not say very kind words to me and really hurt me at that time, which caused me to not talk to her for a very long time, right? And so okay, so that it is what it is, right? And then I became somewhat successful, and my mom and I rekindled our relationship. And then now that I'm somewhat successful, she's like, I'm so proud of you. I knew you were going to do it and all this stuff. And I think it's that experience that says, let my wife be skeptical, because when you make it, or when you make it work, she's going to be happy it worked out, right? But she just has to, I think she just has to tell you that's how she feels about it, or she has to make you feel that she's not too happy with that, right?
Yeah.
That might just be a woman-man thing, I think. I don't know, but
yeah, I think speaking broad, like, I know that we love society now loves to pretend that men and women are exactly the same and cut from the same cloth. Total bullshit, not true. And I'm speaking broadly. Is there are there hard charging driven women that love the
emphasis on the broad? I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I thought I'd throw that in there.
Exactly.
Ladies,
oh my gosh, exactly.
No, take no offense. I'm just kidding.
No, there's outliers. Yeah, we'll put Patrick's email in the show notes if you want to let him know. Broadly speaking, there's outliers in both directions. There's a highly emotionally intelligent, empathetic men, not the norm. There's highly aggressive and hard-charging women, also not the norm. When you look at, like, you can do math, you're a financial guy. There is statistical representation of society, and most men and most women fall in the big fat part of the bell curve. And there's a reason we speak in generalities, because they're generally true. And so, and by the way, men's brains form differently and later, by the way. That's why men are idiots longer than women, is because their prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop for about 3 years after women in general. Also, why women are generally attracted to men a few years older than them is they're about the same level of brain development when they meet each other, in speaking in general terms. But yeah, I don't think it's wrong to say, this is what I'm good at and we should listen to me. This is what you're good at and we should listen to you. I think the key there is to not place more or less importance on either one of the roles. And that's the part I think most people struggle with. Like, I've only been successful and able to do what I've done because of my wife's support and taking care of all the other things in our life, so that I didn't have to worry or focus on those, and I could worry and focus on these, and vice versa. So we complement each other really well. And I have a lot of respect for her and what she does, and she has a lot of respect for me and what I do. And to me, that's the key to why we've been together for 3+ decades, is we respect each other. We don't fight. We don't call each other names. When we do disagree, we do it respectfully. We come to a decent resolution. And to me, that's the whole point of it. But that's just me. What do I know?
That's working for you.
Yeah, that's right. Works for us.
That's what counts, right?
That's all that matters. That's right. So what gave you the idea for your book? Let's talk a little bit about your book. It's called The Canoe and the Current, right?
Yes, it's called The Canoe and the Current. It's available on Amazon. It's also available on Canoe and Current, canoeandcurrent.com. If you want the e-copy, it's free.
All of which we'll put in the show notes, by the way. So
yes.
You don't have to go look, just go to the show notes.
Right.
We'll have it all down there.
However, if you want to put a few pennies in my pocket, feel free to buy it on Amazon. I didn't charge a lot for it. But I think the concepts of the book will kind of help you out as far as the retirement framework I've put it in. So we're all taught how to save and invest money, right? Or at least wherever you look at it, it's how can you make more money here, save money there, grow your essentially grow your nest egg so that you can have a happy retirement. But no one ever tells you how to plan your retirement out in the right way. No one tells you how to maximize the income opportunity off of the assets you've built. So the framework behind the book is basically saying, is helping people realize, one, if you can take care and making sure that your essentials are paid for, right? Your monthly necessary bills, whether it's rent or mortgage or property taxes or health insurance, whatever it is, if you have something that pays for that, that's guaranteed, whether it's Social Security, pension, if you still have it, and properly structured investments that's guaranteed to basically pay for your bills every month, then you can spend the rest of the time investing your money in the market and not worrying about market corrections, right? And so that's the idea behind the Canoe is, let's build your Canoe so that they have guaranteed income, right? If Social Security covers your guaranteed income because your expenses are that low, great, your Canoe is built. Now let's take the rest of your money and invest that in time segmented strategies so that you're growing your wealth as you get older. And that part of it is used for discretionary spending or discretionary investing. Discretionary investing in the form of, now we can take a vacation because we had a 30% gain one year or 10% gain. Let's take a vacation and spend that money, or gift it to the children and grandchildren, or replenish your Canoe so that you increase your Canoe income. But the idea behind it is having a strategy when you retire, because most people don't. I talk to a lot of people on a weekly basis, and it's always, I need to get better returns, but I don't want the risk. Right? I want 10% income off of my retirement asset, but I don't want to deplete the principal. Right? All these unrealistic expectations and wants, and it's really just to help you kind of look at. The book really consists of stories of my dealings with clients. Obviously, names were changed, but the circumstances were changed a little bit, so not everybody can identify that's them. Yeah. One of my favorite clients says, "I think this is about me," and I said, "Well, maybe not." That's how
you can't prove that.
Yeah, but it's basically helping people change their mindset a little bit by following a certain framework, and the framework is, if you can cover all of your expenses with guaranteed income, then you don't have to worry about the market. Let us manage it for you so we can grow it wisely. We can add some guardrails to it if you want, so that if there's a market downturn, you're protected. But it's meant to let them not fear what's going to happen, right? It's to help them be able to strategically plan so that if the current is rough, they're not panicking because they know they have a solid Canoe that's going to get them through. When the current gets smooth again, then they can relax, take their profits and do whatever they want with it. And so that's essentially the purpose behind it. And the purpose is, once you've kind of done that as well, then the next step is, we've secured your future. It doesn't matter how long you live. If you live too long, you still have money. If you live too short, then now, if you die too soon, then you have more assets that you can gift to whoever you want to gift it to. Do you want to leave it to your children? Do you want to leave it to your grandchildren and skip your children? Because that happens, right? Or you want to gift it to charity, or do you want to give it to Uncle Sam? Because you have that choice too, right? And so finding a purpose to your retirement, and ultimately a purpose to how you can then transfer that to the next generation and help them become better stewards of their money than if you just gave it to them without any purpose.
Got it. That makes, I love it. I love the concept. It makes sense. In terms of covering costs, how do you project costs? Let's say you've got a 40-year-old client who says, I'm going to work another 25 years. What's your advice to projecting costs 25 years down the road when tax codes change, there's inflation, there's deflation, blah, 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 all the other external factors? What's your best advice on how to think about that?
So we don't. For a 40-year-old person, our goal is to accumulate as much money as we can, period, right? Because if you're not retiring for another 20, 25 years, we can't articulate what those costs are going to be, right? Because a couple things could happen. One is it could pay off your home in 20 or 25 years, or you've refied so many times that you're never going to pay off your home. Right. So we have to account for those, right? So those are the two main things. Third thing is we need to look at how healthy are you in 20 to 25 years, So generally speaking, the idea behind the Canoe is we build it first using current instruments, right? As you're accumulating wealth. But as we get closer to a planned retirement date, we start reallocating some of those tools and building the canoe, right? So let's figure out what you get for Social Security. What do you expect? Have you looked at what you're going to get? Okay, what other retirement income sources that's guaranteed you're going to get? So if you still happen to work for a company that offers a pension, which they're becoming less and less nowadays. If that's absent, then what else do we have? So then we start looking at, in this case, we can look at a bond ladder portfolio if we want to. The problem with that is it's not necessarily guaranteed, because if interest rates go up or if interest rates go down, they're gonna call the bond because they want, and things like that. And so we'll also look at guaranteed income annuities. Now, people have different opinions on annuities, right? Some people like them, and most pundits really criticize annuities, rightfully so, because it's been abused in the past and how it was sold. But what I tell people is, if Social Security, and let's say you have pension, let's say we're talking to somebody who is a police officer or sheriff's department, work for county or city, they usually have a pension attached to their retirement accounts, right? So between Social Security and pension, and let's say you need $60,000 a year to pay for your expenses, between Social Security and pension, you're only going to get 40. Okay, so you have a $20,000 gap. But you have a 457 plan or a 401k plan that you put money in, but that's about $500,000. I'm just kind of spitballing here.
Sure.
What you need to do is, so what would you do traditionally? Like most traditional planners will say, well, let's invest at $500,000. Let's try to get 4% on it based on dividend and yield, right? And we'll probably be able to get $20,000 a year for lucky, and without having to touch principal. Right, so you've kind of covered it. But if the market goes down, 4% of that is lower, right? Then you have to touch on the principal. If the market goes up, then 4% is good. But what if we can do? If we can work it backwards and say, well, okay, let's consider this for a minute. So 20,000 is what we need as a gap. Some income annuities at age 65 can pay as high as 8%. So now instead of using that whole $500,000 and trying to get 4% out of it, we can just take $250,000, put it in the income annuity, and get your $20,000 a year, guaranteed forever, for as long as you live. Right?
Yep.
So even when you run out of money, it still pays you the $20,000 a year. So now we take that as that we will build your canoe with that, and then we'll take the other $250,000 and invest that in the market. Not too aggressively, just rightfully so that you're growing it over time. And as you gain assets from your investment returns, we take off the top. Did you ever play? So you're an Atari guy. You have to be.
Oh, absolutely. I had an Atari. You bet.
So you remember Atari had the game Casino.
I remember it, but I didn't play it. I know what you're talking.
I played Casino. I'm not a gambler, but I had the game Casino, and I used to play blackjack. Right. And so what I would do is I would never bet more than my baseline. As long as I kept winning, I would always bet my winnings. I would never bet the baseline money I started with.
Sure.
But of course, and then so you walk away with more money if you can make it work for you, right? Yep. And so in this case, that's the whole idea: is let your money grow, harvest when it's grown. When it's down, let it sit until it recovers. Because again, you're guaranteed. Your bills are being paid by guaranteed income at this point. So just don't touch it, right? And then if you also want to increase your income in the future, take from your gains, add it to your guaranteed income pieces, and then you have a higher guaranteed income in the future. So,
or you've got fun money, right?
Exactly, fun money. Here's the other thing I like to tell people. Our market system works if you just let it work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I like to use a casino as the analogy. Right. Again, I'm sounding like a gambler. I do not gamble. I do not gamble. I want to make that clear. I'm too afraid to gamble for two reasons. One is I don't like to lose money. But number two, I'm worried I'm going to get addicted to it. Right. So that's why I don't do it. So I use this analogy with people. I said, imagine if the casino allowed you to bet with their hand instead of against their hand.
Yeah.
Right. So if the casino allows you to bet with their hand, who would you bet with, the casino or go against them?
Yeah, it depends on almost every game I would go with the casino. If I had an experienced blackjack player, that's the one game where if you understand how to play blackjack, the odds slightly favor the player, but literally every other game favors the house.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, the house always wins, is what they say. So investing in the market, let's just call it just the S&P 500 index. I can't say you're guaranteed to win. When you stay invested long enough, you're not going to lose anything. You're going to make money, right? And most statistics show within 8 years, you're not going to lose money. You might lose money 4 or 5% of the time. You stay invested for 15 years, you're going to make money, period. 20 years, you're not going to lose any money. Right? Yeah. So if you're allowed to bet with a casino, why not bet with a casino? Why try to go against it? All these money managers, all these hedge fund managers, they're the ones betting against the casino. They're trying to beat it. And yes, on occasion they do, but overall, only about 10 to 15% can beat the casino, and it's not always the same people.
And how do you get people to understand that time horizon? So I've done a lot of real estate investing, and it's a great example. The very first real estate investment I ever made was with a buddy of mine. We went in together and we bought a rental house. And that was in either 2000, 2001, whatever it was. And so for 7 years, it was a great investment. And then 2008 happened. And at that point, we had bought the house, we'd taken a second mortgage out on it. And then it took whatever it was, 30% reduction in value or whatever. And so I think at that point, we owed like $110,000 on a house that was worth $80,000. And so we were underwater. On paper, we were underwater. That house literally rented itself. We owned it for about 18, 20 years. And I think we had 6 months of vacancy total the entire 18-year period. Is wild. And so he kind of panicked and said, hey, we got to sell this thing before it gets worse. And I'm like, hang on. Like, let's think this through logically for a second. We have a renter in there who covers almost all the costs. I think we were both kicking in like $100 a month at its worst. And which isn't, it wasn't, don't get me wrong. I don't like kicking in money on an investment like that, but $100 is manageable. I can make that work. Okay. Certainly better than taking a huge haircut by selling it. Right. And the U.S. real estate market over the last 150 years has appreciated at roughly 2 to 3% annually. Is it doing that right now? No, it's not. But can't we just wait this out? Won't it come back if we just have some patience and we don't panic? Which is exactly what we did. So we kept the renters in there. We kept the place. We sold it 10 years later and walked away splitting about $100,000 because we didn't panic. So how do you get people to change their thought on time horizon? Because people's first inclination when the market makes a correction or does whatever it does is to freak out and sell. It's the exact opposite, right? Warren Buffett, when people are greedy, be fearful. When people are fearful, be greedy. How do you try to get people to understand that?
Well, the problem is it's a challenge all the time. No one. So there's a couple things. There's a couple challenges behind it. One is they don't believe that what you're telling them is the right thing to do because they think it's that you're just doing it for your best interest to keep money under management. Right? That's fair to think that way.
Sure.
Secondly, it's they don't think that you're as attached to their money as they are to their money, and in some ways that's true too. What I do have is an objective eye to it. Right? I'm looking at it from an objective standpoint, and for the clients who are willing to listen, I always tell them. Actually, I'm going to back up. I want to tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
January 2021. Do you remember? It was 2021, right? When did we shut down? 2020 or 2021?
The whole thing started in March of 2020.
Okay, so we shut down in March 2020.
Yep.
I was introduced to this realtor, and she had about $500,000 that had been sitting in cash that she hadn't invested in a while because she was afraid of the market. So we talked about managing it, and so I said, okay, so we're gonna transfer the money, and once I get it around late February, early March, we will go ahead and invest it in these investments I showed her. She's like, great, right? So it took a while. So money finally came in. It was like around March 1st, March 5th. invested it that week, market crashed 15%, probably 15-20%, right? So I get a call from her, and she's like, "Hey, I did not authorize this buy." I'm like, "What are you talking about? We talked about this." She's like, "No, I want out. I don't want in," right? So I'm like, "Okay, but this is a great time to be in, right?" And so she's like, "Nope, take me out. I don't want it." And I can hear her husband in the background saying, like, "Yeah, I wasn't sure what he was saying, but the tone was, why are you listening to this idiot?" Right.
Right.
So I did it. So I worked with her best friend. I didn't want to ruin that relationship. Her best friend came to me. She said, "Oh, she's crying that she didn't authorize this." I said, "Fine. You were the meeting. You knew what she said, but fine, we'll reverse it, right? And we'll make up the difference or whatever." So, I decided to keep track of those investments because I had this is a perfect opportunity. To get somebody to put their money in when the market crashes, and it crashed some more, but that's fine. But it was going down, and I want to see how it does. So I want to do real-time experiment. 15 months later, she would have doubled her money.
Oh my gosh!
Right, as she just stuck with it. But it's hard for them to see the forest for the trees, right?
Yep.
It's hard for them to separate the signal from the noise. So it is what it is. So there's no perfect client. There's no perfect experience. It's a daily challenge for us, right? You can present somebody with the best plan you can come up with, and they'll sit there and say, "Nope, I don't want to do it." I hope he doesn't listen to this, or maybe I hope he does. Most recently, I've dealt with a new client, and he has this issue with his life insurance policy that I did not sell him, right? And I told him, I said, "Unfortunately, you were sold this product you didn't need, but it was sold as a tax-free investment, right? That is notoriously out there. It could work for the right person, but it doesn't work for everybody. And it does take commitment, and he wasn't willing to commit." So I presented him with this great analysis. And then he goes, "I'm not going to lose $300,000 because that's how much he invested in. I'm not going to waste my investment of $300,000 in this thing. I want this to work the way I planned it to work." I said, "Yes, I know you do, but it's not working, and it's not going to work. It's a ticking time bomb." And I said, but you're going to break even if you decide to change it, right? So you're not going to lose anything, but there's fees associated with him canceling the contract. And it's $12,000. So his total cash value is around $312,000. With surrender charges, he'll net $300,000, right? So the surrender charge is $12,000. So he goes, "I don't want to lose $12,000. I said, "Okay, I completely understand, but you're missing the forest for the tree, right? Because not only are we going to improve your position by the time you're 70, we might even double your money in a safe manner by the time you're 70, but we're going to increase your projected non-guaranteed income by at least 2 times. And it's guaranteed this time, right? And it's going to pay you forever. We don't have to worry about projections, rates of return. He can't get past it." Now, I'm waiting for a response. I responded to him because this just literally happened the last couple of days. I'm waiting for a response, but his initial talk was, "I don't want to lose $12,000. I said, "Well, if you don't do anything now, you will eventually lose more than $12,000. You're actually going to lose all $300,000, right?" So, but it's one of those things where people are too emotionally attached to their money, and that's why, to me, you don't pay a financial advisor for the rates of return. The financial advisor's job is to advise you to do things that doesn't make sense to you, right? Or to be the unemotional piece of the reasoning of your brain to help you understand that what you feel is not necessarily what's right. So that's our job. So and I get this too. "Well, can you give me really good returns?" I don't know. I will try, but if you expect me to beat the market, and if that's what your expectation is, I'll tell you, I'm going to fail, because that's not my job. My job is to get you to participate, even when you don't want to, right? Even when you feel like it's the wrong time to participate. So those are the challenges. It's a daily grind, right? I don't want to say grind, but it's a daily challenge because you never have. It's very rare to have a perfect client who's happy with you regardless. I have some of those, which I'm very grateful for. I have clients who are very grateful to have me as their advisor, and they remind me of it. But they are few, right? Most of my other relationships, the client relationship is solid enough, but one mistake could mean you lose that client, right? Or one market downturn, which they were not forewarned about, right? And so the other thing that a lot of clients expect you to do is be able to read the tea leaves or be able to predict when the market goes down. So you sell right before it goes down. It doesn't happen that way. So, but yeah, so like I said, it's a daily challenge. It's a long answer to your question, which is, you can't convince people if they can't convince themselves. You can only help persuade them, right? And hopefully make a good case. So the way I approach things is the way an attorney would approach a cross-examination or a witness or trying to present his case to a jury. Is you present the facts as you see it, and hopefully they make a good logical decision, which we all know they make emotional decisions and back it up with logic later. So you just want to make sure you have enough logic for them to make the right emotional decision.
Well, and the thing about it too is, let's think about this for a second, like just logically, what is the point of having a financial planner if they tell you to do a bunch of stuff that you already know? What's the point?
Right.
It's like having a coach that says, just keep doing what you're doing. Everything's great.
Right. Guess what? Who's the best basketball player in the world?
Yeah, Michael Jordan.
Okay. Did he have a coach?
Exactly. He had lots of
not
them.
only that, did he have a personal trainer?
Yeah.
Right. So Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks. I'm a Joe Montana guy. But Tom Brady grew up in the same neighborhood I did. But Tom Brady has his own coach, his own nutritionist. You need that person to help you think through things differently and basically help you with your mindset, your lifestyle, or whatever it is, right? To make sure you're doing the right things. Not going to be perfect, but the point is the job of a financial advisor is not to get you the best returns, although that's obviously part of the evaluation process to get you some good returns. But our job is to make sure that you're doing the right thing strategically, and let the rates of return fall where they may.
Yeah, which takes us back to your book, because it's about planning. It's about having a plan and sticking to the plan, so you set yourself up to be successful as you work, as you move through life. When did you publish it? How long has the book been published?
August 1st was the published date. It climbed up pretty quick on the Amazon new release list on finance, which I was very happy about. And of course, it's tapered off some. That's okay. I mean, the fact is, to me, getting the book published was the, I don't want to say it was the end, the goal. I mean, I've always wanted to publish a book, and like I said, I have several books in outline format. My second book will complement this book. The working title right now is The Current Beyond Wealth, and that's about transferring, leaving a legacy behind and transferring the money the way you want to transfer it. And like I said, it'll complement this, right? So if you have built a solid canoe and your current is smooth and going well, then what do you do next? Then we start talking about how do we transfer that to the people we want to make sure gets it, and how do we then teach them to make sure that they're good stewards of your money? I can never get the quote right off the top of my head because I don't look it up and I keep forgetting. But there's an old saying, you might know this, from poor house to poor house in 3 generations. Have you heard that before? Or something?
I absolutely have.
Right?
I've seen it.
Right. So you have, like, a good example would be somebody like a first generation immigrant comes into the country, makes it well, spoiled the second generation because they wanted them to have the things they didn't have. And the second generation does not know what to do with that money. So they blow it. They don't teach the third generation, and the third generation blows everything. Right. Yes. And so the purpose behind the second book is to capitalize on what you've built. If you were strategic with your retirement, that means you should have more than enough when you die. Right? You'll have enough to leave over. So what's next is to start building your legacy by creating a family financial philosophy so that you can pass that on to the next generation. so they can then be good stewards of the money you've helped them build, and they can build on top of it. Now, it's up to them what they do with it. But if you leave your family financial philosophy behind, and they know what it is, hopefully somebody will follow it, right? So that's the idea behind really having purpose behind your wealth planning, and not just doing it blindly, not just saying, I need 10% out of this for the rest of my life. How can I do that? Well, okay, good luck, right? Or I want to make sure that my assets continue to grow at 10, 15% a year after I retire, because I need to make sure it lasts me forever. Okay, I can't guarantee anything,
Yeah, me too. Let me know when you figure that out.
and I don't want to pay any income taxes on my retirement assets. You're great. You don't have to, but you might have to go to jail. So,
oh my gosh, totally. Have you heard from people who've read the book? What kind of feedback are you getting on it?
So it's feedback has been great. So to be candid, so the book is about 130 pages. Yeah, actually, about 140 pages. It was originally about 200. So my editor said, "Do you want people to read it? Do you want to put it away?" I said, "I want people to read it." It says, "Okay, let's cut it down." Right? It is a very good read, and I'm not just saying that, because the feedback I've gotten from people is they loved it, especially ladies who typically don't like to read financial books.
Wow, yeah,
yeah. So I've gotten better feedback from ladies than I have from guys. So one of my good friends is an attorney. He texted me one night in the middle of reading it saying, "So when is this book going to get good?" Right? It's like
he really is your friend.
Yeah, I'm getting frustrated because it's repeating itself, right? And I'm in like the middle of it now. I'm like, well, I responded with, well, the old saying goes in marketing is you repeat yourself 3 times and then get to the point, right?
Yes.
And so after he got past the third, what he said was repetitiveness of it, he said, now it's gotten good. So it's not meant to, it's meant to talk to the layman, right? And I give you some basic strategies to implement on your own if you want to, or ask your financial advisor to help you with it, right? The second book is definitely more technical in a way. I won't say technical. The stories are a little bit more, they're much deeper, much fuller, so to speak. There's much more like beef to it. And my attorney friend loves it. He read the transcript. Now, with that said, he did send me back the transcript with some edits, right? Unsolicited edits. Now, I have not read the edits yet. I have been too busy. I haven't looked at it. But he said, I'm just making some suggestions. No problem. But he's about to love the book. I said, great. So, so I forgot what we're getting at. But the reason, like I said, it's people have the feedback has been great. The reviews on Amazon has been great from people I don't know. And it's just been, like I said, it's not a hard read. It is, if you go on a 2-hour flight, you'll finish the book. It's not hard. It's not a hard read. It's nice. You'll see the stories of the people I've dealt with, and it'll speak to you, right?
Nice. I love it. And so one of the things I've read, and I'm not at the point of life where this is me yet, but there comes a point where accumulating assets comes to an end, and it's time to live off of or spend the money for the purposes that you saved it for. Have you dealt with that yet with your clients, and how do you deal with that transition from save, invest to, it's time to start tapping into these funds? That's a big emotional and mental shift, right? How do you work with clients on that?
Well, that's what's called a decumulation phase of your fat. And that's exactly the framework of my book, is how can we maximize the money you've built so that we get the maximum income on a guaranteed basis you can get for it. Now, I'm not saying we get everything on a guaranteed basis. Let's cover your monthly obligations with guaranteed income. Then we don't necessarily stop accumulating. We just accumulate with a different strategy. The accumulation portion of that point, the current portion of that investment, is we'll have it time segmented. We'll have a 1 to 5 year strategy and a 6 to 10 year strategy, and then a 10 or more year strategy. Because you don't necessarily, I'm not encouraging you to die broke. I want you to multiply your income, right? Now, there was a popular book that came out about 30 years ago, Die Broke, something like that. It was something to that effect. right? I want you to continue to multiply your wealth. I want you to continue to grow it. I want to be able to, when you pass away, tell your children, this is what your father left you. Now, how can I help you with it? That's another idea. But the whole purpose is we don't necessarily have to decumulate to go to zero. Let's decumulate a portion of your assets so that it pays you for your monthly obligations that need to be paid. But let's continue to invest it. But we're not necessarily going to chase the most aggressive type of investments. We're going to invest it wisely so that you're still participating in the market and you have some guardrails if necessary. So to answer your question, is the framework is we're not decumulating everything. We have a decumulation strategy for a certain portion of your assets, and then the rest of it will help you continue to grow. But you won't worry about it anymore because you know your monthly bills are paid for, period.
Yeah. And do you find that by compartmentalizing that so that the monthly obligations are coming from a guaranteed source of income versus the additional or
yes,
other pot of money, does that help people mentally?
It's a relief to them.
Yeah.
What they worry about is it actually possible? And I have to really share with them, listen, we make it possible by using these tools, right? Well, so-and-so says I should not invest any money in annuities. Okay, well, it depends, right? If you're 35 years old, investing in a certain type of annuity may be a bad thing for you. But if you're 65, 70, 75 years old, and you're looking for guaranteed income you can't outlive, I can't offer you anything that will offer you guaranteed income that you can't outlive, except for an annuity. That's the only thing it does, right? So you may not like it, but hey, my wife had cancer. She didn't want to go through chemo, but it's the only way she could get healed. So she had to do it. So likewise, we may not like annuities, but we're using it for a purpose. And the purpose is guaranteed paycheck, guaranteed income that you cannot live. If you die tomorrow, so here's the other thing that a lot of people used to are mistaken. Years ago, it was true that if you had an annuity and you annuitized it, you die the next day, insurance company won. They got to keep your money. Right? I'm oversimplifying, but that's the general feel, why they don't like it. Nowadays, with all these new contracts, new language, it's called a guaranteed income, a lifetime guaranteed income. So you start your guaranteed income today, you die tomorrow, whatever's left over doesn't go to the insurance company. It goes to your beneficiaries. So you don't lose anymore, right? Now, of course, if they're going to guarantee your income for the rest of your life, in some cases, they're going to add fees to it. Sure. But they're not unreasonable fees for the guarantees you're getting, right? And you're going to net the income that they say you're going to get based on the contractual agreement. So I don't want to demonize it. One of my old managers once told me, he says, we don't have bad products. We have products that are only either appropriate or inappropriate for a client. So you just have to make sure you're doing what's right for the client. So
that makes a ton of sense. It's horses for courses, right?
Yeah. I've never heard that before. I'm going to use that.
Yeah. Like it's
horses.
I always use myself as the example. Like if you want to get something done efficiently and pretty effectively, I'm probably your guy. If you want to talk about your feelings and, be real touchy-feely, I'm probably not your guy. Like, and there's nothing wrong with either of those things. It's just who I am. And I know who I am. Like I'm not, right. I don't pretend to be something I'm not. And so in certain circumstances, I'm awesome to have on your side. In other circumstances, I'm probably not really useful to have on your side. It's very similar with the financial products you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had said the ebook is free, and then anyone could buy the book on Amazon, a couple other places, which we'll have in the show notes. So
I mentioned this earlier. Because I went the independent route within the last few months, my website should be done hopefully next week. We did the final edits today. There's a couple more things I asked them to fix up. I spent a lot of money on it. But if you don't mind, the website's going to be, the website is Canoe and Current Wealth Strategy, canoeandcurrentwealth.com, excuse me. At least that way they can see the framework in more detail. It's going to be explained there as well. And then of course the book is also available through my website if you want to purchase it through there, or get the free ebook, right? The other thing, if I may mention, one of the things I help pre-retirees do is is have a better vision for what their retirement's going to look like. So I created a questionnaire. It's called the Retirement Vision Questionnaire. So I helped them create their retirement vision statement. The purpose of that is to help you formulate in your head between you and your spouse what you envision retirement to look like. And hopefully you're on the same page. More often than not, you're not. And then right. and then because what happens is when people retire, it's a big life. It's a big life adjustment, right? Number one, you don't have a reason to get up in the morning and put a pants on anymore. You can just kind of stay in your underwear all day if you want to. So most people, they imagine a retirement to be, I'm going to be traveling a lot and things like that. And life just throws you a curve. That's what happens. I've had clients who say, don't do it. It's too boring. You need to have a reason to put a pants on in the morning. You can only play golf so many times. You can only hike so many times. I miss work. You actually get people who say that. Then you have people become full-time caregivers to their grandchildren, right? And maybe they don't mind it, but it wasn't necessarily what they envisioned, right? And then another curve would be one of my favorite clients. They are so blessed with their money. I won't take any credit for it, but they seem to just be able to find money left and right, whether it's investment returns, selling real estate, or whatever. Unfortunately, their daughter had a stroke several years ago, and so they've had to be caregivers to their daughter, and so that's really put a damper on their retirement plan, right? And so, not that they don't want to take care of her, it's because it wasn't what they planned. They're like,
yeah, right, sure.
Life throws your curve. So our job is to really help you formulate and help you think about what you want your retirement to look like, how you're expecting it to do, and then we want to help you think about what are some of those curves or sliders that's going to be thrown at you, right? Because you need to be able to be prepared for those things and make sure you plan accordingly. So again, be very strategic, versus most people just react. I encourage people, be strategic with your money, and you will have less headaches and less worries if you do it that way.
Yeah, I love that. And so everything Patrick just listed off, we'll put it all in the show notes. So the book website, his website, the link to the book on Amazon, all of that will be in the show notes. So if you're interested, just look at the show notes and you can click on the link there and it'll take you right there. So one of the things, the very last thing I do in all my conversations, I feel like we cover a lot of ground. We talk a lot of things. This conversation is no different. It's been awesome. I've enjoyed our time together very much. But I don't want to miss something that's good because I wasn't smart enough to ask the right question or I wasn't smart enough to bring up the subject. So I just kind of open the floor and say, is there anything that we haven't talked about? And I mean anything. All bets are off here at Salty Ginger Talk. We can talk about whatever we want and say whatever we want. It's funny. I had a guest that sent me, a future guest sent me, here's some questions you can ask me. And I emailed him back and said, yeah, it's my podcast. I'll ask you whatever the fuck I want. So that's how it works. But is there anything we haven't talked about? Anything at all? And if not, that's fine too. But I don't want to disenfranchise you or miss
something. As you brought it up, one last thing I'm going to mention. Do not treat money as taboo. Do not be afraid to talk about money with your family and your children. They cannot take money from you unless you allow yourself to give them money. But you should be able to communicate with your family members, your immediate family members, as far as how you want your money to be treated once you're gone, right? I come from an Asian culture, which money is taboo, right? I told you earlier, my father's already told me he's not going to give me anything.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess he plans to be buried with his money, right? I don't know, but whatever. But it's really sad from that standpoint that I could not even draw from his wisdom as far as how he made it. So I have to do it on my own. So I don't want to sound like I'm saying that because of that relationship, but I just see it so many times where people they don't want their spouse to know what they're doing, or they don't want their children to know what they're doing. That's the absolute wrong way to approach your money. That's a surefire way to make sure that you will lose your money when you die, right? And secondly, make sure you take care of yourself first, right? Once you're retired, your priority should be, how can I make this last for me? And it's our job to make sure it lasts forever, but more importantly, to make sure you don't die broke, so you can leave whatever you want to leave behind to the next generation. So I say that for selfish reasons, if you want to call it that. But I think we don't want to build money only to waste it. Money is money. It's currency, right? It's you want to be able to make a difference in people's lives. And the one thing that touches me the most when I'm dealing with clients are the clients who want to do things for their children and grandchildren, not because they're spoiling them, because they just want to give them a leg up in life, right? Again, one of my favorite clients, just a quick anecdote, their granddaughter graduated from veterinary school, and they said, we haven't told her yet, but we're going to pay off her loans.
Oh, wow.
Right. And well, that's fantastic. Right. That's so touching. That's something she'll never have to worry about again. But she didn't know, she wasn't expecting it. So she's not spoiled, right? And it's going to be a reward for her finishing school. So she's doing her internship now, or her residency, or whatever you call it. And then once that's done, they're going to pay off her school loans.
Man, that's awesome. Those are such, I'm glad that came up. And I couldn't agree with you more. Like, anytime you've got a taboo subject, like it just sets you up for bad scenarios come from that, right? When you don't talk about stuff, when it's off limits, it's just not a good place to be. So, yeah, listen, Patrick, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. Really, really enjoyed it. Did a great job. Loved having you on. Make sure you guys check out the links in the show notes below, the Canoe and the Current. I think a lot of people don't think about this subject until it's too late. It's never too early to start planning for what the rest of your life is going to look like financially. So even if you go a different route, why not have the information? Why not have the knowledge? Why not at least start thinking about it? And like Patrick said, it's an easy read. You can get through it quick. And then you've got all of this knowledge and one approach to consider as you think about how you want to put this together. Plus, you got a guy right here you can talk to about it, because you can get in touch with him with what's here in our show notes. So really appreciate you coming on, Patrick. Great job.
Joe, thank you. I really appreciate getting to know you. I really enjoyed our conversation. We had a few laughs there too. That was fantastic. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we can't do. I can't do anything for 2 hours and be totally serious. So that's. I got to have a little bit of fun while I'm on here, outside of the conversation. So really enjoyed it, man. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Thank you.
All right, take care.
All right.
Great job, Patrick. That was awesome.
No, thank you. I mean, that was awesome. I mean, you're great. I mean, I just love how. I mean, I think you and I kind of think in the same way, or at least we have. My guess is you and I have shared values, and so I really appreciated that having to be able to have that conversation with you, and it made it easier for me to share personal anecdotes and things like that.
I really feel like I love it, because I hear so many people say, that you don't know what it's like. Yeah, I was born with a fucking silver spoon in my mouth. Like, I just started where I'm at. Like, I didn't go through 20 miles of hard fucking road to get to where I'm at. And when our guests are able, they see, oh shit, they're authors and they're business owners and they're doctors and they're super accomplished. Yeah, they ate a lot of shit to get to where they're at, and they're so willing to talk about those experiences. I think it's what resonates with our audience, is that, hey, these are real people like me. They did it. I could do it too,
Right. I think ultimately, and we didn't talk about this, but there was a time in my life where the ultimate reward goal for me was to be some sort of business speaker, motivational speaker, but that's not the road I'm in at this point. But maybe we'll get there, right? Again, I'm just kind of, I'm just taking one step at a time with something in mind as far as what I want to accomplish. And obviously, the book was one of those bucket list things that I was able to accomplish. And now I have 2 books, but again, like I said, I haven't released it yet, and perhaps a 3rd book that I'm going to work on. So, like I said, it was hard to get here, as we talked about, but kind of we're on the plateau part of that mountain climb, right?
That's
but
right.
It's still an uphill walk or hike, because it never stops. You never want to be complacent. You always want to improve. That's why I like to say I'm still peaking, right?
100%. Yeah. Look, I worked for a guy who was a multi-billionaire for about 15 years. And one of his favorite sayings was, you can only coast downhill. And it's such a good way to think about it. Like, if you talked about like your conversation with your wife, we're too comfortable. My wife and I have had similar conversations lately, and she's in full agreement. Like, we got to push. We're allowing ourselves to be comfortable. We're allowing ourselves to grow old. We have to age, but we don't have to grow old. That's on us. We got to take control of this shit and start pushing again. And it really resonated with me when you were talking about that.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I hope this is not the last time we talk. Like I said, I really enjoyed talking to you. I think if we were in the same city, we'd probably hang out or have a drink or two.
Totally,
Because you're just the kind of guy that I probably would appreciate hanging out with. So
yeah, no, I've got you on the follow-up list already. So we do, we absolutely bring people back on, and we do a live stream every Thursday.
okay.
And you'd be a great candidate for the live stream because
Oh, thanks.
we just started it, but the last one we did was our third one, and I had over 500 people on. I don't advertise or anything.
I watched your last one with a short. Is it a short? It was just the last one you released on the 22nd here. I watched some of it.
Oh, those are separate. So those are shorts. We do the shorts as well, but we go live.
Ashore was your guest. I think his name was Ashore.
Yeah. Ayush. Yeah, Ayush.
Ayush. Sorry. Yeah, I got the name wrong. So
no, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, that was the first one. The last one we got almost 500 people. We don't advertise it or anything.
Okay.
But it seems to be picking up steam for whatever reason. We do it Thursdays at 6. You'd be a perfect candidate.
So I just subscribed to your channel, by the way, because I was
thanks.
Yeah, so sorry about that. It just, life gets busy too. So
I totally get it. Yeah, I don't look, I've got my own, I'm running a business and I do this because I love doing it and I enjoy doing it. And it's turning into something that probably could generate some income streams somewhere down the road. But you know how this is. You talked about it earlier, like real estate. Go into real estate and make some money. Yeah, the problem is I fucking hate real estate, so I'm not going to make any money at it because I don't want to do it. Right. So when you start chasing money, it's so funny. Anything in life, I try to explain this to people. If you want something in life, the best thing you can do is not try to get it. Like if you're focused on that, you're almost never going to achieve it. If you focus on the approach, you'll almost always achieve it. If you just fall in love with the work, it'll happen, And so
it's the habits that you form daily, right?
Exactly right.
Like I said, like my friend who was depressed, and even like when you said when I was depressed, just take that first step and then force yourself to take the second step. And before you know it, you're feeling good again. Right.
Yeah. And look, we all wind up there. That's what I try to get people to understand. You're not unique. Think you're the only person that's been kicked in the teeth by life? All of us have been kicked in the teeth by life in our own certain ways. The people that are successful are the ones that take the standing 8 count and start moving again. That's the trick. It ain't fun and it ain't easy, but it's not complicated. You just got to keep going. So I love it, man. I can't wait to read your book. I've got I made a note so I could go out and download it as well.
I'm happy to send it to you if you want. I thought I offered it, but I guess I didn't the first time we spoke. But if you feel free to buy it if you want to give me a couple pennies in my pocket.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm also happy to send it to you if you like. So
no, I'll get through it. And then, like I said, I've got you on the follow-up list because I really enjoyed our conversation. Agree with you. I think we see things similarly and we get a little looser on the live stream. I try to be very neutral because I don't want the podcast to be about me or my opinions. I want it to be about other people showing what can be accomplished when you have the right mindset and refuse to give up. On the live stream, I'll be more direct and opinionated and those kind of things. So it's kind of fun to do that. Yeah. And, people don't like it, fuck them. I don't care.
Joe, I would expect nothing less from you.
But it's a good outlet to have. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, sounds good. Take care of your calf. Make sure, I'm telling you, I had that injury, so just don't push it too far. You're going to wind like Monopoly. Go to jail. You don't pass go. You don't collect $200. So take care of yourself, man.
I will. Thank you. Appreciate it, Joe.
Thanks, Until next time. Talk soon. Yep.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, there you go. So as advertised, Patrick knocked it out of the park like all of our guests do. We just seem to keep finding awesome people to come onto the podcast, share their stories and their information with you. Loved how he talked about his family dynamics and how he worked his way from where he was, leaving school and kind of finding his way into the financial services business through sales. We talk about sales a lot on this program, and look where it takes you if you take action and you're willing to keep getting up and keep trying. The business that he's built, the Canoe and The Current, the book that he just wrote, all great stuff. Loved having Patrick on and really appreciated all the wisdom that he shared with us. So make sure you check him out. Check out the book and his websites in the show notes, so you can go get that information. And if you're in the market, why not give him a shout? Clearly a very intelligent guy, very accomplished guy, knows what he's talking about, and he can do a lot worse in terms of having an advisor on your side than Patrick. So, and we will absolutely have him back on the podcast. Patrick and I stayed on after and talked for a little while, and I made sure to nail him down to come back on, because really enjoyed it, and we'll spend some time with him again in the future. It's always great to develop new relationships, and we certainly would put Patrick in that camp as well. So thank you so much, Patrick. Great job. James puts it up over here every day. Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All of our podcast episodes are available there. Links to our social media accounts available there. Newsletter we publish every weekday you can subscribe to on our website. Make sure, like, share, comment, subscribe to our podcast, whatever platform you consume it on. We have awesome guests like Patrick and all the other guests we've had on. We give great advice and practical tips to incorporate into your life every day to make your life better and build a life of meaning and purpose. All good stuff. We do live streams every Thursday at 6 p.m. So make sure that you check out our next episode. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you there.